You know what else releases dopamine?
What would that be?
Great segue. Acts of kindness, feelings of gratitude.
That's true. I mean, this is, as we said, the last Wednesday of 2017. So I know with a lot of people, of course, you know, when they go, okay, it's the new year, it's a new me, it's a new you or whatever. So I'm going to go to the gym at least for 2 weeks. I'm going to stop eating brownies for at least 2 weeks. I'm going to write my book for at least 2 weeks or 2 pages worth. I'm going to finish that book I was reading, or at least 2 pages worth, maybe 2 sentences. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that one out. You know, it's balance. But, you know, you make this list of like to-dos, like I'm going to finally take this on. And I think, was it the last show we talked about how it's like you can take that on anytime. You don't need a calendar to tell you when you can take on things. But this is a very interesting subject that I think is perfect for the timing because, again, sometimes you have to focus in on you.
Yes, and it's worth taking a moment out of your day every day and think about how you can express gratitude of what is present in your life right now. Not thinking so much about what you want to be doing, what you're going to be doing, what you did. Well, maybe partly what you did. But there's actually health benefits, proven health benefits of gratitude. Because there's actually a few different studies where they've shown that being grateful rewires your brain and your body for health, because it's sort of like working a muscle, right? If you keep working out your left arm's going to get stronger. It's the same way. You know, as people, I think humans have evolved to, you know, that fight or flight concept where, you know, we are trained to see bad things and everything like that because we had to be in a state of alertness so that lions wouldn't kill us. But nowadays, in our big crowded cities, in our, you know, chaos worlds that we live in, it is beneficial to slow down, take a deep breath, and actually focus on not only the present, but also what you're grateful for in the present. And, you know, when we're truly grateful for something or someone, you know, our brain rewards us. It gives us a natural high. It gives us that dopamine. And a healthy, you know, the healthy mind that we cultivate for ourselves can also help us cultivate a healthy body as well. So, for example, the hypothalamus is a part of our brain that regulates a number of our bodily functions, like our appetites, sleep, temperature, metabolism, all that stuff. So in 2009, the National Institutes of Health did a study that showed that the hypothalamus is actually activated when we feel gratitude or we display acts of kindness. So that's a powerful thought, right? Because these types of neurological effects can really help us have decreased pain levels, have, you know, better sleep, stress relief.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not that you're, you know, by especially, you know, let's say when you're generous or you do a kindness for someone, you're not only helping them, but you're actually helping yourself too. And that's amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the health benefits are crazy. Again, as you mentioned, like decreased pain levels, better sleep, the concept of stress relief and reduced anxiety and depression. And these you could say are all interlinked, but that's the whole point. Right. Is that by showing gratitude, you're releasing dopamine. Dopamine then can help with the decrease of pain levels. And also because you feel better, you're not as stressed. Guess what? You can sleep better. And because you sleep better, you can also have less stress on you, your mental state, on your body, which then means a decrease or a reduction in anxiety and depression. And because you've slept, You don't have stress preoccupying your mind and your body and having your body overworked all the time. You then, of course, have increased energy and vitality. So it all comes around full circle, and they're all interconnected. But this concept of showing gratitude can really help kickstart that process. And not only for you, but for the other person, because you're doing the same thing to that other individual that you're feeling, because they're receiving something of positivity, something that's positive in their life, and you're showing gratitude toward them. So they feel it, they go through the same aspect, and now you have less stressed out people around you.
And hey, if you don't care about other people, you don't care about helping them, that's fine. Help yourself, right? Because the more you train yourself to be grateful or to express gratitude, even if it's just to yourself in your own space and not sharing with anybody, you're actually going to train that part of your brain, and you yourself will actually help yourself get maybe unstuck from a rut or a dark place or something like that. Sean Aker, who is the author of The Happiness Advantage, actually says that we can train our brains to more easily recognize the patterns of like Tetris. We can train the brain to scan for the good things in life, to help us see more possibility, to feel more energetic, and so succeed at higher levels. And he calls this the positive Tetris effect. Sort of like when you look at a Tetris, the cubes and the shapes and everything, and stacking them together, and kind of you're able to recognize, the more you play Tetris, you're able to recognize how to stack them together in a positive way to clear out the bottom ones. You can do that with your brain, right? If you feel gratitude, if you say, hey, I'm really thankful that my hair is still strong after all the bleaching I do to it. The more you recognize what is good, and especially what you are grateful for in your life, then you feel better about yourself, of course, because of the neurological effects it has on you, which in turn makes you more open to opportunities. It allows you to potentially interact with more opportunities, with people, with things, and it can help get you out of maybe a bubble that is not so positive. So there's a lot of good things that can come out of it. And how can you practice gratitude, right? Like, do I have to sit there and write 40 things I'm happy about every single day? No. Just like with exercise or with taking care of your body, you have to listen to yourself and what makes you feel good, right? Maybe it's helping out your neighbor every day. Maybe it's, helping out your neighbor every week. Maybe it is sitting down with a journal every day at, when you wake up, and writing down one thing that you're grateful for that particular day. It can be whatever gratitude, however you want to express gratitude. It can be meditation. You can just, sit silently with your espresso in the morning for 10 minutes, like I do, and enjoy it. And, the consistency of gratitude is more important than, the quantity of it.
Yeah, well, and we are rewiring the brain. That's what we're trying to get at, because as Tatiana mentioned, it was originally that with our ancestors, we had to survive. So we either had to fight the bear or run away from the bear. That was the choice, or the lion, or what have you. But in the modern society, many or most of those fears are now gone, right? Because we have so many services and laws and regulations in place to help with our survivability, that now we put some of that inheritance that we've received from our ancestors into, emotions. I don't want to feel this way because it's a negative feeling to me. So I'm going to do everything I can to get away from that. And sometimes that's being, by facing it, it's almost like you have to be negative about it and say, well, this was bad, so that way I don't do it again, right? Or like, this was a horrible situation, so I should not do it again, rather than looking at it from a positive of going, well, okay, it didn't work out, but what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? What can I take away? Or what did go well? Understanding that the things that went poorly or not as well as you had hoped or had met expectations, you know, were they all that bad? Were they still good things, but maybe exactly that, they did not meet expectations? And was it the fact that, you know, there were actual good things from the process overall that did meet expectations? Because I think it's a survival thing, and I think, at least personally, it's that sense of fight or flight, but now we're putting it into the avoidance or the feeling of certain emotions and not others, rather than keeping us away from that lion.
Right, and Koparistic brings up a good point that sort of hits on that. You know, it's easier for me to believe that people with less stress show more gratitude, as opposed to showing gratitude makes people less stressed. And right, we get it. Like, it seems counterintuitive. If, you know, if I'm stressed, if I'm busy, if I'm having just have not caught a break for the last 12 years, you know, what am I, you know, what do I even have anything to be grateful for? Why should I show it? How is that going to make me feel better? But if you think about it, right, it's sort of like a spiraling effect, right? If everybody started at, you know, base 0, and you start thinking more negatively, or you have a more negative viewpoint, or you already come with a predetermined attitude towards something that is predominantly negative, you are more likely to surround yourself with that vibe. And so you probably will only see or predominantly see those types of interactions, right? Like if I go into a store and I'm having a shitty day, I probably won't likely smile at the cashier. I'll probably just throw my money on the table, and I'll just want to get out of there, and I potentially won't interact with them, right? That's kind of the assumption that we're going with. If that cashier is also having a bad day, or maybe they're not, but if that's the attitude that you bring, it's very unlikely that they will bring a positive attitude back. So let's say, you know, if you had a question about your purchase, they might not answer you in the most positive way, or they might not want to be very helpful because they've looked at it as, well, this person's in a grumpy mood, I'm not here to make them feel any better. And then you go about your day and you're stuck in traffic and you're really angry. Maybe you get upset yourself because maybe you should have looked at the GPS before you left, or you thought this was a shortcut but now it isn't. There's all of these things that you can just start to focus on that tend to spiral more and more in a negative direction. By the time you get home, you're in a fucking shitty mood, right? Let's say that you're having a bad day, and instead of going into that store, giving attitude, being grumpy, kind of being closed in and in your own mind, if you look at the cashier and you say, hey, how's it going today, right? Which is, in theory, a kind of actness, right? An act of kindness, right? You're kind of inquiring about them, saying hello, smiling at them. And I'm not saying that you will always get this response, but maybe they will say, hey, I'm doing good. How are you? How's your day going? And you're striking up a conversation. And for the briefest of moments, you're outside of your head and outside of your mind, and you're not so focused on all the negative stuff. And maybe they tell you that there's a sale going on if you buy 2 of the same item, and you're like, great, I'll take 2 because I actually really like this color. And you have a more positive experience. You get into your car, maybe there is traffic, but now you're like, I'm going to turn on the radio and listen to my favorite station, or I'm going to, you know, plug in my phone and listen to Spotify or something like that. And maybe I'll think about what, you know, awesome dinner I will make when I get home, as I'm really looking forward to it. Or I'm going to have those 4 scoops of ice cream because I deserve it for today. By the time you get home, maybe you aren't in such a shitty mood like you were before. And again, these are, you know, we're not saying that, you know, if you're going to start practicing gratitude every single day, all of a sudden everything is going to start changing immediately. As the plastic surgeon from the 1950s, Maxwell Maltz, said, you know, it does take a minimum of 21 days to change or start a habit, right? And it is a muscle, right?
Well, that's to start, too. That's to emphasize this, because we were talking about this earlier, and there is this sort of bastardization of the quote in a way, or the way of thinking behind it, that, oh, well, it takes like 21 days, and then you'll have a habit, and it'll already be set in. It's like, no, that's to start the habit to set in. Like, it takes that time just to start it and edge into doing it consistently without really thinking about it. It's not just, okay, after 21 days, I don't have to worry about it. I put it on cruise control.
Wouldn't that be great? I might make that pill.
Gratitude button, go. Activate. Yeah.
Like Dynamite points out, right, emotions generally follow actions, and that's something too that mental health I guess workers also kind of focus on, or counselors, can attest to that. When you are too much in your head, right, you tend to lose track of what's actually happening in the present moment, in the in the world outside of your own head, in the environment around you. And I know that if you start, like the, oh my goodness, I forget the name of them, the little spinner thing, the fidget spinners.
Yeah.
Right. That's been shown to really bring people to the present. It's like, right, because you've got something that you're tangible, you've got in front of you that you're focusing on, you're outside of your head, and it gives you that breather moment for your body to relax a little bit, because it's not thinking about all the bad stuff, the past, the future, but it's really in the here and now. And so your body relaxes, and your mind is a powerful thing. And if your body doesn't have to kind of be trapped by it, it can release, its dopamines, its other, hormones, and actually make you feel better as well. So it's fascinating when you start to think about it. And, at the end of the day, again, if it doesn't feel good to you, you can stop it, right? But if you're not practicing gratitude right now, I want you to start, keep it up for at least 21 days in whatever way that works for you, whether it's, being kind to someone someone you don't know. And that includes yourself, by the way. You can be kind to yourself. You can take an extra break from some stressful activity. You can, go ahead and scoop that other extra ice cream scoop.
Do you really want some ice cream right now? Because that's what I keep freaking hearing. Like, the 3 past conversations we've had, the 3 past articles. So ice cream. Oh my God, ice cream.
You know why? Because we were talking about ice cream earlier today.
And she was talking about ice cream earlier today. I think she wants ice cream.
She really wants some ice cream.
And this is just like the supplement conversation, though. And but in the sense of like, will gratitude be the end all be all to help give you a successful life or the best life ever? No, right? You need balance. So you need to have the gratitude aspect, but you also need other things that you have to be implementing in your life to see whatever your version of success is. And I hate using just the word success because it's so open based on people's experiences and their actual wants. So success can mean many, many different things. So I don't want to say success overall, but your own personal success and what that means to you. Gratitude can just be one of those supplements that you take to help make you feel better and to drive your ambitions further and to get you thinking in a different way. And that's really one of the keys of it. And to then spread that around so that way you're around people who also give gratitude and who are positive. Because again, we are naturally social animals, and therefore we pick up on emotions and social cues typically very easily, and we feed off those. And who wants to be surrounded by negativity all the time? Culperistic mentioned this too. It's like, well, yeah, I would rather choose to be around positive people than negative people. I would rather be around the people who say, hey, I've faced some bad things, but I know I can move forward in one way or another. And, rather than being around the people who go, oh, I can't do anything and nothing ever good will happen and so forth, because it in many ways becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You say it enough times, you get in that mind state enough, it won't happen. And that's just unless it's just pure dumb luck that everything kind of falls together. But when you don't have that mental energy to drive the physical energy to then push to where you want to be or what you want to do, it's not going to happen. You know, you have to give it 100%. You have to put everything into what you want, at least from what I personally feel. And if you half-ass it, it's not going to come out as you hoped or dreamed or ever wanted.
And Dynamite says, I've heard it said this way: having a positive attitude doesn't guarantee success or what is considered success for yourself, but having a negative attitude guarantees your failure. And that's true. You know, what we're saying is, you know, even if you practice gratitude, it doesn't mean that shitty stuff isn't going to stop happening, you know. And what's interesting to me is I have met a lot of people who are so positive and they're so encouraging, and they like exude this life force that I want to be around. And when you actually listen to their stories of their past, they have had some rough breaks, right? Like, their lives aren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And even when they recount those stories, you know, they don't tell them as a way to make other people feel bad for them or as a way to get attention. You know, they're just saying them as like, this happened, it was in the past, I either learned from it, I got fucked by it, I didn't, but they've moved on to the point where, okay, but I'm ready for the next thing that life throws at me. And I think that, you know, practicing gratitude makes you more resilient, because you're able to, you know, it's not about finding the silver lining to everything, because sometimes you can't. There is no silver lining. But unless it's like, don't do that again, maybe. But so it doesn't, you know, teach you to just always see the happy in things, but it just makes you aware that maybe this shitty stuff happened, but I've got at least one other good thing here, you know, and that's a good way of looking at that.
Yeah, for self-preservation, for your own mental like health, that's really important to see the positive. And we're not saying to fabricate things that sound good, right? Like, you know, no. I'm an amazing basketball player. No, I'm not.
No.
I have 2 left feet. It's not happening. I've come to terms with that. But I'm
you
actually
wanted to be a basketball player?
No, but people said because I'm 6'4" that I should be. So, you know, you try to live up to some of those things sometimes when you're younger. But I'm happy I'm not, actually. Yeah, they get paid a lot of money, but they also retire young because their bodies have been through a ton of stress and pressure. And then all of a sudden, you know, by the age of 40, they have arthritis in their legs and hips, and, you know, a lot of times can't even walk straight. So it's like, I'm fine with that. I like my health. This is good. I could do without all the money for, you know, not having all that. But, you know, it's not about fabrication, though, of saying certain things that aren't true, right? Or looking at someone and going, okay, I'm going to say this nice thing just because, you know, like, I guess in a way, what's important is to make sure that it's something that you actually mean. Like, if you do actually appreciate someone's time, let them know, because sometimes gratitude isn't just about looking at something, overanalyzing it, and going, oh, this was actually a good thing. That's not always the case. It's also the fact that sometimes we think things and take them for granted, not realizing that if we said them out loud, it would actually make someone's day. Like, for instance, I always appreciate the fact if I go to a Starbucks and the barista has a great attitude and they get my drinks right all the time, and maybe they've gotten to know me and they're like, hey, how you doing today? And they actually go out of their way to make me feel good. I want to make sure that I point that out to them instead of just saying, oh, thanks, you know, and just answer their questions very quickly, like, my day sucks, or my day's okay, yeah, thanks. And not going, well, how's your day? You know, how are you doing? You know, I see you're taking the time to invest into me. I want to do a little bit of that for you as well. And through that, I'm showing gratitude because I'm recognizing them, especially as another human being rather than like an automaton. And I'm recognizing that they go through stuff too, and that we can find this commonality or these common grounds. And that's a great way of showing gratitude too. So it's not just about really overanalyzing the situation or pulling something out of your ass, but it is about saying things that sometimes you easily take for granted that someone else might not realize. Like, hey, you do a really good job at this. And them going, oh, I never thought about that. I've never had anyone come up and say that to me. And it changes their mood because you actually mean it. But, you know, unfortunately, you just assume they knew, right? And so you want to point that out. So that can be immensely important as well. And I want to make sure to clarify that, because I know some people confuse that and go, oh, so I just have to say nice shit to someone and I'll feel freaking great about myself because then I won't feel like shit, right? And it's like, well, nah, that's not really how it works.
Right, yeah, no, you definitely have to mean it, and don't search or have to look for something. Like, if you don't think something is good, don't say it. But even more so in terms of expressing gratitude for what's in your life specifically as well. Again, back to if you don't want to interact with people or tell them anything, is looking at yourself too and being kind to yourself. Like you mentioned, okay, maybe you aren't the best at basketball, but what are you good at, right? What brings you joy? What do you like doing? And, sitting down with yourself and be like, you know what? I am a good damn writer. Fuck that. And like celebrating those things for yourself as well. And, I lost my train of thought. It just went away.
And you know what? I appreciate that about you.
The fact that I lose my train of thought like 300 times a day.
Yeah, because it brings out a little bit of humor in the situation. If you could only see her face and her going, oh shit, what was that word again? And see, the thing is that you can admit that, right? And that's the thing, that you lose your train of thought, and that tends to happen, right? That's just one of those things.
Yeah.
And I think the other, I don't know, to me the other funny situation is that when it comes to anything personal about our own lives, our own mental and emotional health, there are certain things that we don't even think about or think it would be stupid, but yet we do it every day if we run a business. I mean, the concept of looking at our strengths and at our areas of where we need to improve, or challenges or obstacles that we face. From a business standpoint, like, most businesses have to do that in order to survive, right? And some of the most successful businesses do that. They look at their strengths, they look at their obstacles, and they see, how can we improve what we're weaker on, and how can we emphasize and continue pushing what we're strong at, right? And and as a business, you have to find places where you appreciate what you're doing well as look at what you're not doing well. And for some reason, that never translates when it comes to ourselves and treating ourselves like the most important business of all, because we have to deal with ourselves for our entire life, right? Like, a job might last for a year, 5 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever. Your iPhone will only last you for 6 months. Kappa. There you go. Bring it full circle back to the emoji talk. But, that might last you for like 6 months or whatever, or a year if you're lucky. Your body, your mental state, everything about you live with. This is your home over all other homes. This is your means of transportation over all other means of transportation. And therefore, you need to make sure that you're focusing in on it, and that you do look at the things that are working well for you, the things that are not, how you can improve on what you can't, on what you haven't yet, but also look at the strengths and go, this is actually something that's going well for me. I should continue to do it. Even from like a survivalist standpoint, if people found a source of food and it actually worked for them, it didn't kill them, it didn't make them sick, they felt better after eating it, it'd be stupid of them to go, well, I mean, this is going good for us, but I don't know, let's just avoid it. That's completely against our survival instinct. And the fact that for some reason, and there are multiple reasons, and I won't go in depth because that'll derail us completely, but there are, for whatever reason, we look at ourselves now and don't put that time into us. We put that time into things, we put that time into other elements of our life, but not what gives us that source of life, if you will.
Well, I'm too busy. I got work. I gotta make dinner when I get home. And then I gotta do laundry.
It's all those things.
Then I gotta take care of the cat. Then I gotta walk the dog. Then I have to wrap gifts. Then I have to call my mom. Then I have to... Gotta take care of yourself.
I mean, this is why on an airplane, and you've told me this one, I love this analogy, was that you have to put the mask on yourself first before you then go and help someone else out. And there's a reason behind that. If you're dead or passed out, you can't help the person next to you.
No.
So you've got to put the mask on yourself, make sure you're okay at that specific moment, and then pass it onward, right? share the wealth, if you will. So in this sense, it's the gratitude. You got to focus on self-gratitude, what you're doing well, looking at yourself, and again, what is working, and also looking at, and again, not saying to avoid the stuff that isn't working. We're not saying, be ignorant to yourself. It's about focusing in on you in every part of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I always, like there's those inspirational cards or mugs or posters that are like, be happy, feel happy, do this, do that. And I consider myself a pretty cynical person, but I don't think I come off that way, maybe. I mean, I get a lot of people telling me, they're like, oh my God, you're always so happy. And it's like, But, and so you can't ignore your other emotions. Like, being happy all the time is kind of ridiculous. Like, there's no way you can sustain that. That's not a thing. And two, everybody's going through stuff. Nobody's life is perfect. You may look at someone's Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. I was talking about this on my Instagram feed. Is full of Christmas trees and families and shining happy people. And I'm like, yeah, how are you like just 10 minutes right before you took that photo and 10 minutes after you took that photo? I don't, it might be real for some people, may not be real for other people. But we always, put out this face to the world. But, we're all going through something, right? And maybe your problem isn't that person's problem, and maybe you don't understand their problem. Maybe you don't see it as a problem, but they do. And so, we're all going through stuff, and we've all been through stuff, and we're going to continue to go through things. So the point is not to lessen that or to, sweep it under the rug or try to find the silver lining or just be happy. It's to experience those things and then later still have, hopefully, something that you are grateful for. Even if it's just like, hey, I made it through another day. Hey, I got up out of bed today. Hey, the colors of the walls in my apartment are amazing. It doesn't have to be huge either, the gratitude, right? You don't have to be grateful for this amazing giant thing. You can start to be grateful for little things. And maybe they're not little things, exactly the same way that some people's problems maybe seem little to you. What you're grateful for doesn't have to be little, and I shouldn't have used that word. But it's important to be fully present in your life and figure out what's working. Do more of that. Be grateful for what's working. Be grateful for the people and the things. And what isn't working, what you maybe aren't grateful for, find a way to change it. Because as Evin said, you're living in your body for the rest of your life. You're also living with yourself and your mind for the rest of your life. So don't do stuff that doesn't feel good.
Yeah, it's basically like constantly putting your hand on a burner that's turned on your stove and going, well, damn, that's hot. And you keep your hand there and you keep complaining about it going, damn, that's hot. Wow, that smell of burning flesh, that's really nasty. Wow, that really hurts. And you're not doing anything. Yeah, maybe you should move it. Maybe you should get out of the damn fire. Maybe you should get yourself to an ER. There are many things to look at. So it's important, again, look at the positives, look at the negatives, how you can fix the negatives, and show appreciation for that fact too. Again, it's every little step of the process that's important. So even if you may not have achieved something, the fact that you realize, hey, I need to take my damn hand off the burner, and you actually do that or start to do that, get in the motion of, that's also awesome. Because I can't tell you how many people I've met who keep their damn hands on the burner, metaphorical burner, and they don't take it off. And so it's so important to make sure that you understand that this process isn't easy for everyone. And it depends on your experiences and your background and sort of the restraints that you put on yourself or that you feel society kind of puts on you. And so you have to face those and look at those things and at least go, you know what, but I'm going toward the direction I want to go.
Right. And to close out our last episode of 2017, I do want to express our gratitude for you guys, our audience, because I love the commentary that you guys put in chat.
Whether Kappa or no Kappa.
And
which means smartass or sarcastic, kind of phrasing or
for
tone
anybody
for
who's
those
not
of
on
you.
Twitch.
Yeah, not on Twitch.
That's a good one.
It's Twitch
Look it up.
language.
It's KAPPA. But we're also grateful that you're watching us here, because otherwise we would just be talking to the wall and to ourselves, which we do all the time anyways. But it's really nice to have somebody to share that with. And then what else are you grateful for, Evan? For today? What are you grateful for?
I mean, well, definitely I agree with the community aspect. I'm very grateful for them and the fact that we've been so fortunate to find such awesome people from all over the world.
Oh yeah.
All
Denmark
over.
and Sweden and Australia and Canada.
Yeah, and that, we not only get to share our perspectives, but we take in their perspectives as well, and hopefully again can build those bridges of communication and better understand each other. Again, we're not always going to agree, but the fact that we can better understand one another is so important. And so I feel very, very fortunate to have a platform like Twitch and Podbean and what have you, where we can connect to people and they can connect back to us, and where we can hold actual valuable conversations while still having fun and joking around and sharing each other's sense of humor, and how we can manipulate language in chat and everything else. As you can see, Dynamite is a pro at it. So, he's got the green sword of modhood for a reason, But, it's awesome that we can come all together, share our points of view. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for having a platform like this where we can share a story and help others share their story as well in their voice, which might not otherwise get heard. And I think that has such an impact for our society. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm, immensely grateful for these articles, and for people actually doing their job as journalists and trying to cover, actual news that impacts us. And having some articles like this come out and tell you, things aren't that great, or, hey, things are looking pretty good, but anything could happen, and I really appreciate that. And that we have access to this. Now, for how long we'll have access to this due to certain factors that have happened recently in our political times is another story. And that we'll probably talk about on another episode. So I won't go into that now. But I'm at least grateful for all those things thus far.